Greetings, Star Trek Fleet Commanders. I am the Angry Rhino. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. So today, time for Event Store Talk. Now, I'm going to try to skip over several of these buckets like resources, exchange rate trash, special currency, exchange rate is trash, cloaking. I do feel like the cloaking prices in the faction store are fairly reasonable. And other than those ships, I don't think cloaking works that well for you, so I don't recommend getting it. But you know the things you want in your account more than I do. Throwback cosmetics exchange rate is trash. There's really only two refits that I might consider. That's the Cerritos refit, even though I think it is ridiculously overpriced. Don't recommend really getting it just based on that. Amalgam refit, maybe. Are you a raider? Do you like raiding? Do you want a bigger bonus to your amalgam fancy ship ability? By all means, get it. I guess if a G4 rare is your primary ship, the Apex shards, the little refits that add Apex barrier to your ship, could be useful. But that's really if you're a G4 player. Now, with this, could you even more skip the G4 epics? You could. You could. And therefore, this could be benefit to you. But to me, that's kind of a relatively low number of players. But maybe it's not. Yeah, for your Pilum, your Coronar, your Newton, sure. It could be worth something. How much is it? Way to show me things. 120, so that would be expensive is what it is, right? Because 100 is 500,000. So it's what, 600,000 total? Wow. Yeah, sure, it could be worth it. Is it worth it for the price? No, I don't think so. But I don't know. How much event store do you have? My guess is not that much. Ship parts? Not really. I think the exchange rate's trash. With most of these, especially some of the, newer ones like a Protector or Gorn Eviscerator, it's like you spend about 100,000 event store credit and you can put one, maybe two components on the ship. Cool. Out of like 8 or 10 components. That's wonderful. Now for something like a Discovery or a Fisha or a Devore, they're relatively more cheaper, and therefore you could boost that loop a little more. Is that worth it? It can be. Part of it is, if you spend getting a few bundles of Discovery ship parts, what then can you not else get? That's really the thing. But sure, is it worth, a handful of currency? It can be, absolutely. Speeding up some of the grind, yeah. Blueprints, I haven't noticed any new blueprints. I'm pretty sure the Eviscerator was in there before. Yeah, I got the G6 warships in here. Ooh. I mean, there's nothing new as far as I can tell. And every one of these ships has its own path to getting a free one, right? So, except for, I guess, the North Star to the jellyfish, the baby jellyfish, which sure can be worth getting. That's debatable. I would say probably not at this point, but yeah, people like what they gonna like. Like people that spend to get this Separatist D3 that does nothing for you except it's a D3 that's red. Do some people find enjoyment in that? Sure. Is it worth the price? I don't know. I always recommend getting 2 Stellas, 1 to scrap, or 1 to max and scrap, hopefully anyway. Yeah, you can scrap at certain other tiers. I would say, 3 three real spots where you should be scrapping your Stella. One is at the end of using just uncommon. Like once you hit the tier up button, you know, if it still wants just uncommon, keep tiering it up. If you get to the point where the components start wanting rare, don't give them anything. Put the levels on the ship and then scrap it. And the same that goes for when you do decide to start putting rare components on the Stella. Get to the point where and when it starts wanting the epics, and then stop. Don't put any more components on it. Put the levels on it and then scrap it. And then at absolute max of the Stella. Again, one to scrap and one to keep using. Because if one's in the scrapper, then you can't use one, right? You know, you want to keep a max Stella. So you can kill the shit out of all those armadas. But again, go through the loop in the Outlaw faction. Get the free one there. Then get one from the event store. Because if you get one from the event store first, code reads that you already have a Stella and then doesn't give you a free one. Keep telling people that and keep reminding people that because there's new players in here all the time. Sarcophagus is trash. Amalgam you can get other places. You know, I mean, Defiant you can get another place now, even though I don't think it's really that good, but that's an opinion. You know, I mean, I did get my Titan from this store. I didn't feel like spending Explore credits, though I might change my opinion now because of the NX01. But I don't regret getting my Titan when I did. It worked out nicely for me. So yes, it can be beneficial to get a few shards or a few blueprints from here. But definitely don't spend a lot of event store currency on here because all these ships are elsewhere. Come to the real main event of the event store because they decide not to change anything. Now it's possible things are added that I already have. Are there fleet commander spots? I have no idea. Are there fleet commanders? I have no idea because I have them all. Could they be worth something to you? Sure. Are there other places that you can get them? Yeah. You know? So, kind of tough. Now, if there is something that you wanted me to talk more in depth about, watch one of my older videos, because a lot of the shit that is in this event store currently was in another event store and I've already talked about it. Or just, post a comment asking a question. Hey, Rhino, what do you think about this, and that, or something? And I'll answer the best I can. But try not to have like a 30, 40 minute event store video when it's not really necessary because, like, I've gone over all this shit at least twice, maybe even 3 times. No sense in going over it a 4th or 5th time, or even, I feel like I say this every time I'm doing an event store video and I keep going over this shit. Well, I mean, it's a new video. You got new players, so I mean. Alright, officers. I'm going to start with the 2 that I don't think, that I feel have less value, and that's going to be the epics. Starfleet Q. Number 1, the epics are so much more expensive than rares. Just so much more. So, you don't get the effect of increasing the officer ability because it's much harder to tier them up. But can you get the benefit of the unlock and use the officer? Sure. Sure you can. Can that be useful to you? Yeah. Is Starfleet Q that good of an officer? I'm going to say no. I think they just slapped Q on here and be like, ha! People will love him because they love John Delancey and they love Q. But in my opinion, he's a trash officer. I don't like the idea of... this is the pick douchebag officers. It's Admiral Picard, Old Man Riker, Old Man Worf. It's these guys. Right? Because it matters what ship your opponent has, and you have 0 control over that. I guess maybe not 0. You could attack or not attack. You have that choice. You have that control. But as far as what ship type your opponent PvPs with, you have no control over that. They choose that, not you. So you get this guy, and it's like, oh, he's good if he has morale, and he's fighting an interceptor. Well, if your opponent says, nope, I'm not going to send you an interceptor. Well, then, why is this officer so good? I hate that. I hate that. Why? I hate officers like this, and I hate the events that are, hey, go kill with an interceptor, an explorer, or a battleship, because not every player has one of those ships for their level. Take this guy, for example. Yeah. Hard, but yeah, it's doable. Just gotta find a way sometimes. But by all means, if unlocking some of these officers just to unlock them makes you happy, do it. I don't recommend spending any more than 75 or 75-ish thousand credits on this. It's just, these event store tokens are so rare nowadays, and they're just so expensive, and the officer just isn't that good. Vael here, I think, is much better. Her below deck, it is a below deck ability. Her below deck ability here works a lot like Hugh, except it's when you get hit, she has she's guaranteed to activate. Now, it's not like Hugh where it's like, oh, it's a 70% chance to give you 25% crit chance. It's a much smaller crit chance increase, but it's guaranteed to activate. You see me right now, I get 4 every time she gets hit. Guaranteed. So, now at tier 1, she's not that good, but if she gets higher, sure. She'd be much better, and who couldn't benefit from, for lack of a better term, another Hugh? Do you use 2 ships in waves? Do you use 2 ships grinding hostiles? She actually works in armadas. Hugh doesn't work in armadas. So, pairs very nicely with the Dojas Torah and Toli and their extra loot that they get. It pairs very nicely. So, but again, I don't recommend getting a lot of shards just because it'd be so expensive. Alright, now let's start with, we'll continue in her group here. Yes, she can get synergy. Well, neither one of them have a captain ability, but they will both go with Dojas Torah and her captain ability. Give her synergy. I don't even remember what Vael's officer ability is. And I honestly don't even care. He's got an officer ability, increase your crit damage every time you're hit. Sure, I mean, very nice. Very nice. And he also looks like Doc Brown. It's blue Doc. It's Andorian Doc Brown. That's awesome. So yeah, I have him unlocked already. At one point, I thought his below deck ability was really nice. Now I think it's kind of trash because increase loot gain. Oh, Rhino, that's awesome. That's great. Who doesn't want more loot from non-armada hostiles? Yeah, that makes it a lot worse. A lot of these loops now have researches or favors or ships that get you increased loot. Like, let's say Mirror Universe. Look at all the researches in there that increase your Mirror Universe loot. Mine's up to over 400%. Does another 15% do anything for me? No, not really. Does another 30% do anything for me? No, not really. I mean, think about the Gorn Eviscerator. And all the researches in there increases the volatile and the apex isomatter. I mean, I'm up to more than 100% of each. Is another 15% or 30% really doing a whole lot for me? No, not really. It's really not. He will max out at 100%, so there's that. But then you got to get him the max, right? You need how many shards of this? Like 500 shards. You going to be able to get 500 shards? So, why I like him, He's just not that good. Now, maybe I see the potential here in Mariachi Q and Fleet Marshal Q, even though they're only PvP, but I do see some benefit here, or maybe some potential if you work your crews right. More about the below deck ability because they go with Starfleet Q, and it's okay. They'll activate when you have morale, regardless of who you're fighting. So there's that, right? Could make that crew a little better. Increase your isolated cascade score is always nice. But I'm looking at the below deck ability. If you're burning your opponent, gets an increase of 7,000 apex barrier. Would that pair very nicely with Battleship Strike Team? Yeah. Right? Pair very nicely. And it's only 7,000% at tier 1. What does it max out at? I don't know. Maybe 15,000, I think. So could that be really nice? Is Battleship Strike Team still viable? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Let's come on to French Marshal Q. This is one I'm somewhat excited about, but at the same time, if everybody's got it, man, PvP can go on for a long time. Several months ago, they started introducing hull repair researches and officers. Actually, I guess it started with new Hue back in, I want to say, February. Again, officer ability works if you have morale, increases your weapon shots. 25% to start, maxes out at 50%, which is for 3 rounds. So, yeah, it could be a lot of shots for you. Could work. Now, take a look here at the below deck ability. Player has any state, your enemy player, they put morale on themselves, which is kind of annoying. If you put hull breach on them, if you burn them, if you put assimilate on them. Or maybe if they hull breach themselves, like they're running pan crew. You, or French Marshal Q, repairs 5% of your hull damage taken in the previous round. Now, okay, 5% doesn't sound like a lot. Well, it does max out at 20. So what, he's 15 at tier 4, 10 at tier 3, and it goes up to 7 or 8 at tier 2. What tier can you get him at? Could you get him in a tier 3 and get another 10%? Sure. Well, you put new Hue on there. New Hue, his below deck ability is fairly similar, right? He can repair your hull too. So you get 10% from French Marshal Q. Let's just say 10% from Hue. Let's just say you got that favor up there in the X-Borg store, battleships fighting, because I'm saying you pair them together. Battleships fighting explorers, you can get another 20%. So we're up to like 40% now. Okay. And let's say you also have that other favor that says when you attack, you get 10%. Now we're up to 50%. Well, how do you like that? And you don't even have any of these officers maxed yet. You think you get another 10% from French Marshal man over here? That takes you up to 60%. What does new Hue max out at? I want to say 30%. And I said it takes on another 20. So 80%? Wow. Yeah, it sounds like PvP is going to take a long ass time. But does your opponent have this? Does your opponent even know this exists? Does your opponent give a shit about PvP and therefore doesn't go after these PvP officers? It depends on the player, So could they be very useful to you? They could. Will they be? I don't know, man. You tell me. So we'll wrap this up here. Very little I see use for in this event store, mainly because I don't see things added to it. I don't see any new refits. I don't see any new projectiles. Why? I don't even know. Right? I mean, the exchange rate for some of these special currencies, they're just trash. Whatever, man. I don't see any Revenant or what's the other dumbass specialty ship? Vindicator. No Revenant or Vindicator blueprints in here, which I guess is to be expected. Whatever. So it's down to the officers again. Yeah, some of the officers are really good. Some were kind of meh. Yeah, I know I talked a lot about the two blue Qs over here, but they are only PvP oriented. That's something you care about. Well, I don't know if you like doing arenas, which I hate arena because the repair is bullshit, I think. They could be very beneficial to you. They could be. Not to say that Vael or Dorian Doc Brown aren't really useful to you either. So combat below. Below deck abilities and combat. Comment below. Which one of these officers do you like the most? And therefore, which do you think has the best value? Because, the epics are more expensive than the rares. Have you noticed any new refit or skin or projectile or anything new? Maybe I didn't notice it because I already got it and therefore don't know that it's in the event store. Is there anything else in the event store that you really think is valuable that I kind of just glossed over? Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am the Angry Rhino. Shields up, Commanders.